I'm going to take off my mask. Hi, Senator Harris. My name is Robin Sanders. I'm here with my twin sister, Ashlyn. I'm in my last year of law school right now, and I'll be clerking when I finish, and I will one day run for public office. And I can't, yeah. And I'm honored to vote for you in this election. I'm deeply troubled by the state of our nation, specifically with respect to the law and the criminal justice system, as has been stated here today. There have been ceaseless murders and executions of Black Americans on video. And the most recent travesty in my mind is the Breonna Taylor murder. And my question involves accountability and equal protection, because as I watched Daniel Cameron deliver his press conference, I couldn't help but be disturbed by the perversion of the law. He stated that the Constitution affords equal protection to all citizens, but yet in the same breath urged that Breonna Taylor would not receive justice, even though the law was clearly broken in that case. So my question is, what are the priorities of the Biden-Harris administration to not only demonstrate that, you know, there's a real need for policy change, but what about the accountability piece and the equal protection piece? Because Black Americans deserve equal protection under the law and due process. So that's my question.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And you must run for office. Just first get through law school, pass the bar.
Yeah.
And thank you to you and your sister both. I couldn't agree with you more. Here's how I think and talk about it. There's a phrase that's used often in the criminal justice system, which is there needs to be accountability and consequence. Accountability and consequence. And that phrase is almost entirely and totally and only used in connection with the person arrested, and not in connection with the system itself and the actors and players within the system. And that's part of what is broken and unjust about the system. So to your point on the accountability and consequence piece, if we are going to be true to those words, we just honored the life of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, equal justice under law. She who follows in the path, you know, one of my personal heroes, Thurgood Marshall, equal justice under the law. The fight that we are continually waging, which we will one day win, especially when you become a lawyer. We have to agree that there has been a failure to have equal application of accountability and consequence in the criminal justice system. So that's why, as we were discussing earlier, we have in our plan those things that are going to be about accountability and consequence. On the case of Breonna Taylor, it was a gut punch for all of us to hear that. You know, I've talked to Mika Palmer, her mother, starting months ago and most recently just a couple days ago. You know, and what I said is what we started to talk about, that Breonna Taylor's life, we will never allow other people to measure. We know the measure of her life and the value of her life. But we still have to fight for the system to recognize, as we often and always say, Black Lives Matter. I have said many times in many speeches and many situations, America has yet to value the sanctity of Black life and has yet to treat Black life as fully human. And her case couldn't be a more recent example of that. So accountability and consequence needs to happen. What would we do? So it's everything that I talked about earlier. And as a former attorney general, I was elected as only the second Black woman, I think, in the history of our country to be elected an attorney general of any state. I created, when I was Attorney General, I actually implemented pattern and practice investigations of law enforcement agencies. Joe and I have a commitment to doing that, which is that the United States Department of Justice, under our leadership, will have the responsibility for seriously engaging in pattern and practice investigations, putting resources into not only the pattern and practice of discrimination, of excessive force, but also putting resources into the consent decrees, right? So after a court has found that there is a problem, there usually is a responsibility to fix it. But if you're not supervising that, that's called the consent decree, it's likely to not happen. The other thing we're going to do is not only, as has been done in the distant past, which is to have pattern practice investigations of law enforcement agencies, that's going to include prosecutors' offices, because that needs to happen also. In addition, I do believe that in the Breonna Taylor case, there needs to be a civil rights investigation of what they did by the United States Department of Justice. And we're just going to have to keep fighting, and we're going to keep saying her name. But we say her name not just to speak her name, we say her name to motivate action. And that's what's most important.